Welcome to the Lowdown on Lower podcast, where we take some time to talk with some of the team members here at Lower so that you can get to know some of the people that are here and just hear their stories. And today I'm joined by Lauren Walton, who has a really interesting kind of background and journey here to Lower. I'll let her tell you more about it, but just a quick synopsis. In 2021, Lauren joined or was at Chase Bank, and in 2022, she joined Lower. We all know what happened then. And what's been really impressive is that over the years, Lauren has grown and grown and grown to where she's on pace this year to do close to 50 million.
Yeah,
So
hopefully.
very impressive. And Lauren, I just want to welcome you to this podcast
Yeah.
and just let's start things off by saying, how did you end up here?
Yeah. So I've been in mortgage since 2009, so quite a while. I started at Wells Fargo. That was pretty temporary. Did not love that. And then I did go to Chase for a while. I was at Chase for about 10 years in mostly corporate relocation. So in Columbus, Chase is a pretty big power player. That was more of a direct to consumer CD, DTC, whatever you want to call it, type platform. And Nick Gallagher, obviously our national sales director, he was actually my boss at Chase for 7 of the 10 years I was there. So when Nick had left, I made sure to let him know that, when he was looking again in the future to hire and to grow, at the time, home side, that I would be interested in working for him again. He was a fantastic, mentor and leader. Most of the reason that I found my way here, I got to the point at Chase where I just felt like it was a dead end road. I was doing everything for the bank, wasn't really building my own brand, business. So knew that I wanted to explore retail, and coming to work for Nick and the other people at Lower that I had known was, following the right people was like the path that led me here.
Yeah. Well, and what's really impressive about it is I've always considered someone who goes from bank sourced business to a retail self-sourced environment. It's starting over. Like
100%.
you're basically brand new to the business.
Yes.
You're, having to build things up from zero, and you've really done exceptionally well with that. What has been the secret sauce there for you? I mean, how have you kind of worked through the frustrations
Yep.
and gotten to where you are today?
So I think the bank, and I say this all the time, I give the kudos to Chase for what they taught me. I felt like it gave me such a good foundation to really learn mortgage. There's very little room for error there. Everything you do is recorded and monitored, and they hold you to a very high standard, but grateful for that, because I always joke, people talk about loan officers cutting corners, and I'm like, I don't even know what cutting a corner means, because at Chase there's no such thing. So felt like I really learned things the right way. I felt like it gave me the foundation to be confident, to actually be able to go out and sell myself and sell my own brand by learning guidelines at Chase and all the different products and programs. But really, what was the driving force for me is I was I want to build something for myself, and I want to build something that doesn't belong to the bank and instead belongs to me. So I think that kind of lit the fire up my butt to come here and kind of just put the pedal to the metal and really just go all in. What really drives me and what fills my cup and what keeps me going is building relationships with people. I love being out, being the face of, my brand or my team, and, being out there in the market, being able to build relationships. And that part has come so easy for me. And it just gets me up every day, because it's something that I didn't have the opportunity to do at Chase. Everything was over the phone, and it was across the entire country. Whereas now, I'm making friends and I'm building relationships in my own backyard. And I'm seeing all of that come to light. It's I noticing as time goes on, right? The harder I work, the more it pays off, right? There's no secret,
Right.
right? It's and I now the fruits of the labor of the last couple of years of really putting in so much time and effort and energy is really starting to pay off with the relationships that I now have. So it just fuels me to keep going, and it's fun. I feel my job is making friends and building relationships, and that's the best part of this business for me. So yeah, that would be what I would say.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and when you leave a bank like Chase, at Chase, your last name is your NMLS ID number,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right.
And so when you get to kind of be you again, it's it's a very different environment. what mechanisms or engines have helped you in that relationship building, brand building process? Like what's been important to
Yeah,
you?
I would say like social media has been like huge for me. So at Chase, I never use social media in any capacity because you're really like not allowed. Everything has to be, prior approval by legal, and you can't really post a lot about yourself. It's more about the bank. So I saw such an opportunity there, number one, for like me to go into this new world that I never had really used for business purposes, but also just in our market. Like I just saw such an opportunity. I felt like a lot of realtors were using social and using it well, but there weren't a lot of lenders in our market using it. So it's just a really great way for me to like stay top of mind, a great way for me to prospect, especially like from afar, get people to try to notice me, supporting them from afar. So I feel like that's really been a great tool for me. Obviously it's, essentially free. And so I've really utilized social media a lot. And then for me personally, like Women's Council of Realtors is like a great group in our particular city. I know there's women's councils in, most cities, but that for me, like I've made so many great friends. The topics and the speakers and all the events that they do are like aligned with what I believe in and like my mission and my vision and my goals. And then why I'm there, I'm also, networking and building relationships. So that's been another, I always leave there feeling like uplifted and I feel supported and I'm able to also provide support. So that's been like another really big power player for me in terms of growing my business, is just like getting in the right rooms with the right people, really putting myself out there, getting out of my comfort zone. Like, there's always events to be at, but just being smart about like what I'm attending. And then, always circling back after those events to like, if I meet new people, finding them on social, and then, starting our, journey together.
Yeah. So clearly people are very important to you. And I want to circle back to kind of your journey here to Lower.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but you find this theme so much in the industry where, sometimes it's not really about the company, it's about the people at the company. And you see like these tribal movements a lot of times too, where people will go as groups from one company to the next. And sometimes I know when I first started recruiting in the industry, it made me scratch my head because I was just wondering, like, why in the world would so many people just move as a unit versus just making that individual decision? But I know there's someone here that you really think highly of, so I want to give you a chance to share your experience with them and just
Yeah.
why that helped you make your decision to come
Yeah.
here.
So I had mentioned before, like when I worked at Chase, Nick Gallagher was my manager there for 7 of the 10 years. And Nick had such a big impact on my, career there. He was a great mentor. He was a great manager, a great leader. So like I knew after being with him for that long a period of time, like working with the right people made all the difference. Like you spend more time at work with your manager than you do with your, spouse at home. Right. So having the right people in your corner was so important. And Nick always like exuded like great work-life balance. I had both of my children when he was my manager. And it's just like having that, component of like him understanding, other facets of my life was important. But I knew when I left, like I was like, there's so much noise that goes on in the background about money and about sign-on bonuses and about products and comp and processes and all those things. And like I just knew that the things that Nick and I were discussing, that I could trust him and others here, right? Dan Snyder and Dan Stitch, like people that I had known in my prior mortgage life, but just people that I knew I wanted in my corner. And I knew that Nick knew that I was going to be knocking at his door if like he had unkept promises, right? So like I knew that he was being honest on the front end. We're in the same market, right? We're both in Columbus, Ohio, but that like I knew what he was telling me would be true. And that comes down to like the process throughout, the life of a loan and the support that I was going to have operationally, like how important that is. And I knew that he would have my back there. And then I just knew from a product standpoint, like he started as a loan officer. So he knows what it takes to be able to go out there and like sell the right products and be able to have, backing of that. But just full well knowing that I could trust him and that he wasn't going to tell me things just to get me over here and sugarcoat things that weren't actually going to end up being true. And, 3.5 years later, like that could not be more the case. And I always joke that like I love when recruiters call me because it's such an easy conversation for me to explain like why I'm happy and why I'm here and why I have no interest leaving. Because like for me, the people cannot be replicated. And I know that Nick is a phone call away. Stitch is a phone call away. They have my back. Like they support me to the nth degree. And now like in my market, my partners know their names and they know that they also have their support. And so like there is no price that you can put on that. And I just know from like others in the industry, right? Like people go places and a lot of times it's for the money. And then those promises are not kept. And then they find themselves looking, because it's just putting a Band-Aid on the issues that may be there. But for me, it was never about the money. It was always about the people. And like that decision could not have been a better one for me. So I continue to feel supported. I continue to have, everyone in my corner if I need something. And, operationally, like I could not speak higher of like Stitch and the entire group. They're the real heroes, and like they're the ones that keep the trains on the track.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's a great point to make too. One, the money that gets thrown out there in recruiting, that's all very short term,
Yes.
and you're like a living, breathing proof of, the long term play is really in the smart choice of where you end up and really being thoughtful about it and going somewhere for the right reasons.
Yes.
Because I mean, like we said, you started basically from zero, going from bank source to self source, on a path within 4 years to where you're doing, a great amount, top 1% in the industry. And so that's just proof of kind of the long play, right? And then having that support behind you, let's dive into that because, at Lower, we've got four core values that we really promote out there, and the first being high performance.
Yes.
And so I'm just, in your own words, how has high performance shown up for you here at Lower?
Yeah, I think like the thing that I love is like as I continue to grow, and obviously there's been like an evolution of my business like year over year, but like as I continue to grow, like in my back of my mind, the concern is always support, right? Like as I am out there and I'm continuing to grow, what is support going to look like? And am I going to have enough support? Am I going to have the right support? And what is the speed of that support going to be? And like it has just continued to line up beautifully. And I know that, so it allows me to feel confident going out there that like I can meet really fast closing turn times. I can continue to like my production can continue to increase at a very high level because I have the right support to behind me. So like I don't worry about it anymore. Like I know that they will figure it out, right? Nick and Dan and the rest of the sales and operations team, they will continue to provide the right support behind us because they, at the end of the day, they really just want us selling. And I think that's been like such an easy way for me to really be able to let go and like get out of the operational side and get out of the pipeline. Is just they continue to show up for me and they continue to support me so I can be out there selling. So I feel like it's a slow progression, like getting to that point, but the support has always lined up for me that like they've just allowed me to be able to perform at such a high level. And then I think the other piece of it too is from a product standpoint. Like I thought when I first came over, I would really be focused on conventional business, a little bit of government business, but I really like dove into other things such as physician. Non-QM has been a big one that like I wasn't expecting. But those, like looking at my numbers, it's like there's a good amount of business that's coming from like non-traditional type mortgages that I really wasn't even expecting. So like Lower has done such a good job giving us this product platform that there's hardly nothing that we cannot do. And
Right.
oftentimes I'm getting referrals because people know that we can do it, whereas other people can't. And that's just adding into the performance that I'm able to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hey, I know you're on the go. You got a lot going on, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to make, or anything that you just want to share that we haven't covered already?
No, I would just say like in terms of everything, right? Pricing, products, operational support, leadership. There's nothing that I could think of that's like a weak link at the present time, with our company. And for me, like that's so important. Like every area like is firing on all cylinders right now. I think the growth has been tremendous. We have a lot of like right people in the right places right now. And I could feel the support around me. And like, from going from being my own individual loan officer, now I have two other parties on my team that have, also continued to allow me to grow. And like that may continue. Like I said, the operational support continues to be there to allow me to perform at such a high level. Also like have great marketing support. And like I said, just really being able to have me go out there and deliver what I'm promising, to my realtor partners, my financial advisor partners is huge because I know I have the right support behind me. So like being confident when you're out there as a loan officer, like nothing matters more. And I'm doing all of this with like very little involvement for myself, right? Like it's just a well-oiled machine at this point that I don't have to be involved in the day-to-day. And my partners are showing up to make sure we deliver while I'm continuing to go out and, build more. So I think, it's exactly what I envisioned. It's just hard to like trust till you get in the seat and you actually like see it and do it. I think like that's the most important thing for me is just like everything has come together so beautifully and like all parties are working together. And I've never felt that, like, especially operationally, I always felt like it was like ops and sales, like butting heads at other places that I worked at. Like I've never seen such like great collaboration between ops and sales that I do at Lower. It's incredible.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Well, hey, I know you're about to run onto another appointment, so
Thanks
I'll
for
wrap
having
this up.
me.
Thank you for joining this little conversation today, Lauren,
Appreciate
and
it.
good luck to you in the future. And we'll just be cheering you on.
Thank you, Connor. I really appreciate it. Take
You
care.
got it.
All right. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.